it works. Otherwise, the idea I was thinking of that it failing is just going to fail anyway. That the only really time at least I think, I ever really want to introduce that into like role playing is when it's not working out too well and you're not able to role play it out that well, and you need that chance that can help you out, that maybe this could actually work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think when bluff checks and intimidate checks would, you know, and diplomacy, all that type of stuff. I think that's when it works out in the way, because I know for a fact that players they have these ideas, but sometimes they either can't role play them out that well, or they just end up stumbling over their words, and the role play just ends up being horrible. And if that's the case, and if that actually happened, then they would fail immediately. I don't want to punish someone for not being a good actor, you know?
We don't have to do that. I mean, even if someone has bad acting skills, you overlook that. I mean,
oh no, I understand, but I mean sometimes things just don't work out, and they've got this cool plan, and part of me wants it to work, but another part of me says, you know, they really didn't think this out all the way. Let me have them roll on it to see if it actually works, and then I sort of roll with it that way. But I understand what you're saying. I mean, if I could see it as a DM that says, hey, that was really cool of them to put that together, it would kind of be dickish of me to let them rely on chance to have it succeed or fail. I could see that, yeah. But at the same time, there are also intimidate checks where I think, well, yeah, Kathleen's this dragon chick thing, but these are hardcore fucking pirates of about her same level. And they weren't really that hardcore. They got thrown into the fucking water. But they're about her same level. They're a little seasoned. They've seen things. Maybe it catches them maybe it catches a few of them off guard. And that's kind of why I had you roll for that. I can almost assure you that if Bahamut had done that, everything within a 40-mile radius would have shat their pants. But you're not Bahamut, are you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
And the thing is with the quote-unquote role-playing skill rolls, they're all due to charisma, and many times charisma is the dump stat.
That's true, charisma is the dump stat, and sometimes, especially for us geeks, charisma is the real-life dump stat.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So, you guys had fun last week?
Yes.
You guys looking forward to tomorrow?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, I hope the chat room's looking forward to tomorrow, too. And, guys, if you have a question for the Tabletop Show, or you want to...
I have a question from somebody.
You do?
Yes, someone
Go for it.
sent me a question. The question is, and I quote, "Do you feel it's difficult to play a character that's different than the way you normally are? My friends are notorious during sessions to basically play themselves in the campaigns we have, even between multiple characters, but they express wanting to diverge from this habit. Would you have any advice to help them?"
So, what do they want to do? They want to...
Basically, when you play a character, how do you play it so it's different than yourself? How do you make sure you're not just playing yourself in the game?
That's an interesting question. Skitch, let me ask you that question.
I'm an awful person to ask that question because I'm extremely bad at playing characters that are very far removed from myself or how I think or how I talk through, you know. That's actually something that I'm notoriously... I would say I'm extremely bad at. It's just what I do is I create characters that complement my personality well, and I don't create characters that are diametrically different than me, so I don't lunge for that challenge myself. So
now I would ask Liam the same question, but he's playing a woman, and he's already a woman. So no, Liam, how would you answer that question? How do you play a character who's not you?
Well, it's wrong to say it's easy, but it's wrong to say it's hard as well. What I think is that if you're going to pick something that's diametrically opposite, you're just going to be something you hate, and you're just going to play a parody. But if you play something closer to yourself, it's not exactly yourself, but closer to yourself. It may be easier to play because you're not exactly being yourself, and you're not being the exact opposite, i.e. your parody. Like, at the moment, I'm playing a very pious female, and I'm neither of those.
No, well, we know about the female part, but I didn't think you were very pious. Oh. Chris, before I get to you, I'd just like to say, I don't really play characters all that diametrically opposed to who I am. I just sort of all I do is when I'm creating a character, I look at him and I think, or her, and I think, all right, what are the three qualities of this character? And I think, all right, well, for this one character I'm playing in a session, it's paranoid, it's sneaky, and it's kleptomaniac. And everything I do is very paranoid. I'm always looking at things. I just keep that list in front of me, and that's how I try to roleplay it out. But Chris, how do you play Kathleen?
Well, here's the thing. The way I play characters and the way you kind of go about this is you're never really going to separate yourself from who you are with your characters. Even great writers, a lot of the times you can still see they have aspects of themselves in their characters. It takes a really good writer to write someone who has no piece of yourself. And I'm someone who definitely keeps a piece of myself in every character I play. Because that's the relation you have with your characters. That's the aspect you tie to it, and then you make differences off of that. Like for Kathleen, the impulsiveness that I have, or the stubbornness, I add that to my character. Those are qualities that I have, and I add to my character. And then you add things that are different. You know, adding a character who's at the start she was very staunchly sort of individual. She was very against a group dynamic. She was very much focused on just herself and just her country. So you take kind of aspects that you want to try, you take different things like that, but there's always going to be a piece of yourself that's going to be in your character.
Interesting thoughts. One last question from the chat room here, and it's from KM Mouse. I rolled a background using the casting book of a fighter, and ended up getting a character from our time that was sent back as a child to the past. As a DM, how do you think this would be implemented into a campaign? As a player, what nuances would you think this would involve? Ouch! As a DM, I would say you're a child from this time, sent back into the past, but now it's this time again, so you're going to be matured, so...
Not going to remember anything.
You're really not going to remember much. And the only thing, honestly, as a DM, the only thing I might introduce there is the aspect of you finding yourself and looking at your parents, and maybe making that into some kind of emotional event. As a player, though, man, that's that would involve some interesting sort of things. But you got to remember, you were a child at the time, so you're probably not going to have that many deep-rooted connections to the present time.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be hard to pull off, sure, but Chris, what do you think? Do you think it matters at all, considering that he was a child, but now he's grown up?
I'd say re-roll your fucking history. Are you married to the idea of being someone sent from the future to the past? Because you rolled your history in a book, and your history is completely butt-fuck retarded. Yeah, like, if you're married to the history, we can find a way to make that work. But if not, don't use a random number generator to expect me to force that into my story.
Oh, the casting call books are amazing, aren't they?
That's the thing. That they're good for a joke. Like, oh, I've got a character whose head explodes and has got a golden dog called Cyril. But 99% of the time, you're not going to get a backstory that's not absolutely bat-fucking insane.
See, but I don't. Now, to be honest, I actually liked both the characters' backgrounds that got pulled up through casting, central casting for Warmick. Actually, it's just a matter, I think, of subtraction. You get a bunch of stuff out there, and then you subtract out stuff that does not contribute into a flowing, connected story. I mean, there's the whole the molestation thing that got rolled up with Greg, but I don't really incorporate that as part of his background, but I like the idea of him being.
Oh, you like the idea of being molested?
No, I don't. No, I like the idea of him, being basically a thief and running around as a kid that way, getting into trouble, being in prison. Those sort of things creates this background and story arc that helps put off some things about him in his more recent character. So I think if you're trying to use something like central casting, you have to do it with a subtractive eye. You can't use everything from that as a workable character, because it eventually just gets ridiculous.
What, you mean you can't be a revolutionary slave that lost, and then he's still a slave, and then the DM has to work you into the campaign somehow?
And a multi-amputee.
Oh yeah, multi-amputee too? That's good.
Yep. Who dual wields weapons, but he's a multi-amputee.
And finally, I'm going to move on to this one last thing from Tachi. You said Felbrig sold the souls of everyone in the town to the Demon Baron. Does that mean Dahl's family is in Tiamat Hell, or were you meaning on just how defeated they were from it? Stay tuned, Tachi. Stay tuned. You will find out more in the next adventure of Wormwick.
Wormwick!
Yes. Actually, guys, please, if you have a question or anything, don't email me, don't call me, post it in the forums. We have a D&D section for the forums, lordcat.com/forum. Go ahead, post a question in there for the D&D show. Well, not the D&D show, the Tabletop show. No trademark infringement, I promise. And post your questions there, trying to get some more activity into the forums, or post a comment. And, hey, you know what? We'll see you on Saturday, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Yay.